I believe so far, between 2006 and 2010, we've been focusing on a number of highlighted events, and those events showed that the political will has changed towards agriculture as a sector and towards agriculture as a sector responsible for food safety. First thing happened in 2007. At the time, the first Arab strategy for the sustainable agriculture was adopted. It was supposed to last between 2005 and 2025. This strategy was a kind of menu for Arab states. Of course, it's not a country-specific strategy. However, it took into consideration the various discrepancies and the differences in potential and policies between the various Arab countries. Therefore, it was a very varied, flexible menu or policy that would allow everybody to handpick whatever they needed and then elaborate their own strategy based upon their own needs. If I am to talk about it very quickly, I would say that it had 5 objectives. However, the main objective that I would mention in this meeting is the second one. It is the capacity building for secure food to be provided for inhabitants. At the time, I was among the drafters, and we talked about the fact that about this strategy being linked to agriculture. True, we concluded also that any development in the agricultural field should not be solely focused on agriculture. You need to take also other elements into consideration, and we therefore concluded that it was necessary to have a multi-dimensional approach in order for food security to be approached. Second, we talked about stability in rural areas and communities, because there is a great fear that agriculture is now a repelling field, a field that repels workers, a field that repels investments. Therefore, it is necessary to focus on investments to come back to the agriculture field for the upcoming years. I believe as well we could start talking about an Arab agriculture joint policy. This would be extremely important in order for us to synchronize between one another. However, I do understand that the discrepancies between Arab countries might make this project slightly difficult. And then there was the Riyadh Declaration that came on a couple of years later, since we're moving on with the various documents, and this Riyadh document was extremely important as well. It was a force because it came out with 2 programs in the Arab region. The first program was the emergency program for food safety. It was elaborated differently from the usual theoretical approaches. It focuses primarily on what products, what commodities. 10 were enumerated, and between yesterday and today, by the way, we were talking solely about cereals, but in the first Riyadh program we talked not only about cereals, but also about other food items like oils, for instance. And then the second question was how to reach this objective, and then what would be the budget for this program. It is a program that is extremely important. It has a very pragmatical content, and all the while I asked for extra time, by the way, Mr. Chair, so I'll be continuing a little longer if you don't mind. And now you confused me, says the chairman. Back to the idea of budget. A budget was specified for this first program. It was an accrual budget spread over 20 years, and it reached $70 billion. It might sound like a lot. However, if you look at the food gap in the Arab countries, and if we look at the amounts of the amounts spent in importing foods in the Arab region, you would understand that this is not enough. In fact, you would understand that 70 billion is not merely sufficient for the needs that we had to cover. Second program, springing from the Riyadh Declaration, is the Arab Food Program. It is somewhat a clone of the WFP, if I dare call it that way. It is a program that was supposed to start in 2010. I believe that This introduction is extremely important, and I have given it to you to show you that Arab countries are supposed to work within the framework of those decisions and those documents, because all of these have come from summits, the summit in Riyadh and the summit in Kuwait, and there was even the ministers' meeting, the ministers of agriculture meetings. All of those were benchmarks, all of those were landmarks, and they were the ones that set Arab countries into motion, and Arab countries truly acknowledged that they needed to work within a certain framework, and I believe this framework is to be empowered in the future.